everybody, and welcome once again to Apostolic Children's Ministry Podcast. And we are doing this on what day is this?
Tuesday.
On a Tuesday. It's noon right now. And my daughter Trystan is with me. She came before she went to work. And we're going to just be covering a few different things, including the fact that we'll get to this in more detail in a minute, but we are approaching some pretty big milestones in Apostolic Sunday School.
Oh, yes. It's crazy.
One of them is the 100th episode. Maybe that's not a big deal, but it feels like it.
Yeah,
It feels like kind of a cool deal.
It's a big milestone.
Especially as sporadic as we've been doing it. But I think we started back in 2015 was the first one. And the other big deal is that's 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's not
That's
just
crazy.
10 years for the podcast, of course. It's 10 years for Apostolic Sunday School, Apostolic Children's Ministry in total. And the first video that was ever posted, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this because we'll cover it more in that 100th episode, was in May of 2015.
Wow.
And we'll talk about how all that came to be in that episode. But a lot of history, a lot of neat stuff. And so we're going to be making that 100th episode a really big, neat thing. Okay? So, again, we'll get to that in just a minute. But before we do, I think it'd be cool to just talk about our recent annual, once-a-year children's revival that we have here at our church at In the Lighthouse. Mm-hmm. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it was a really neat event. Went really well. And so we're just going to talk about it.
Okay, yeah.
So why don't you kick it off? What was our theme?
Okay, so our theme this year was Western. So we did the Holy Ghost Junction. That's the town we were in. And we kind of continued the storyline vaguely from the SCC Kids service.
Which was also continued vaguely from the Summit Conference, which was our first time we had done Western there. And it's just, there's so much inspiration that you get from that Summit Conference that we wanted to take that home. And the decorations, of course, are just about impossible to replicate. Yeah. But with that said, our set was incredible, thanks in large part to Logan, who is my son, Tristan's older brother.
Yes.
And he's very good at woodworking, and he spent some time and knocked out a really big Western, we'll call it the trading post.
Yeah, there's the trading post, the barn. Do we already have the barn? Or is that
we already
one
had the barn. He just did the trading post, but just is in quotes because that's a big deal.
It was really big.
16 feet wide, 12 feet tall.
Yeah. Had the batwing doors, and there was a bunch of stuff.
The hitching posts. I mean, it was a big, neat deal. And I'll try to remember, if I remember, to post some pictures of what the set looked like as a link in the podcast description. So check that out. But like she said, it was a continuation of SCC conference.
Yes.
Where we had the story. We had Rattlesnake Jake, which we also had at Summit.
Yes. So we had, from Summit, we took the same characters and the places, but SCC was a different storyline, and the storyline continued, though, from SCC, and even our very past.
So there was, let's go back to that disconnect. So very few of the actors, except the ones from our local church, of course, that were at Summit were here for the SCC conference, and so we didn't even try to tie it in, and almost zero of our kids were at both. So we weren't worried about overlap or people seeing it before. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to chop you off.
So SCC, we obviously had the Holy Ghost Junction. And also, I don't even know how many years ago, for our Kids Revival, we had also done a Western.
2018. 7 years ago.
7 years ago. We had done a Western previously. And so we took some of the same past characters that weren't in SCC, and we pulled them into our Kids Revival.
You know what's really fun is to think back and back and back and back. So in 2018, we had the character Rattlesnake Jake show up for the first time here. But you know where I got that inspiration?
Where?
Let's go back once again to someone that has inspired us in the past. Pueblo.
No way.
Yes, Brother Elder's Church, and Jess Cast and her husband John they're incredible at Sunday school and bus ministry. If you don't know about them, go meet them. They're super cool people.
Yeah.
But they did a Western theme. I don't know if it was a VBS or what it was, but I remember reading one of their Instagram posts, and they mentioned Rattlesnake Jake. And I thought, we're stealing that. It's way too good. And I didn't know when we were going to use it. I just said one day we're going to steal Rattlesnake Jake. And I don't remember how soon on the heels of reading that we actually implemented it. But here it is. 8 years later, 8 years later from when I first read that, and now it's in Summit, in our SCC service, in our kids revival, and spoiler, in junior camp also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So also we had a character, his name was Garth, and most of the kids, when it was 2018, most of the kids we have now weren't, like, some of them weren't born. Well, not really born, but some of them, like the really, really young ones.
Some of them weren't born.
Yeah, some of them weren't born.
7 years ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Trystan, you're getting the feel that I get when people look at you like, wow, you're really old. Yep, you are getting old, girl.
But
you're still
young.
Young-ish.
But some of the kids either weren't born or were just too young to notice. Because even like the 9, 10, 11-year-olds were only like 4 years old, 3, 4 years old. And so we pulled in a character. His name was Garth. He was basically like That's
Garf.
Yes.
If you're trying to understand what she's saying.
Garth.
Where we got that name, God only knows. This is way before AI, so they didn't come up with it. It was one of our
you can't blame
ridiculous
it on them.
blame child. Brain children.
But so he was the deputy that kind of like couldn't take it anymore and left.
Walked out on the sheriff, left him high and dry, and honestly, I don't know that I've forgiven him. It was hard.
Well, you forgave him pretty quick.
Well, that was 7 years ago, and so I had some time, but I struggled with it until...
Yes. So...
Well, I don't know that we want to go through the whole story.
Yeah, okay, but basically, Rattlesnake Jake, the sheriff proved to us that Rattlesnake Jake, we should accept him as a deputy.
At SCC conference,
yes,
Rattlesnake Jake is a terrible bad guy. The sheriff ends up shooting the gun out of his hands, but then taking care of him, taking him to the doctor and teaching him a Bible study. And when we showed up for this kid's revival, he's in jail.
Yes.
And the sheriff decides that he's going to make the decision to let him out of jail. Not just let him out of jail, but now that he's prayed through and got the Holy Ghost and got his Bible study, that he is ready to be a deputy with the rest of us. And the other deputies did not like it at all.
And of course, this was obviously planned, but I think it's just funny. We were like, once we finally accepted Rattlesnake Jake, we were like, yep, we got it. We'll never do this again. And then Garth comes back. And
Garth
we're all...
that let the sheriff down 7 years ago.
And then we all start again. No, he's not worth it. Don't let him. Don't let him trick you. I think all the
deputies started chanting, send him out. Send him out. And, of course, the story of the prodigal son, too good not to tell, was told and brought up. And so he was once again welcomed back into the fold. But we're just going to kind of give some highlights of the story. We don't have time to go through the whole story. But basically the sheriff hears about a really bad outlaw. We thought Rattlesnake Jake was bad, but Serpent Sam is next level bad.
Oh, he was something special.
He was. And so that was my brother Larry.
He was...
And he came in looking like a tenderfoot. He was a tenderfoot in disguise.
It's called the snake oil salesman or something like that.
Yeah, snake oil salesman is what he looked like.
Yeah.
But then, of course, he revealed himself to be the treacherous human
saying he was from Holywood instead of Hollywood. And
we didn't like that.
He would never. But basically, he was coming and trying to buy the Holy Ghost thing because he found out that we all had power, and he was trying to figure out what it was. He wanted to buy the Holy Ghost. If he couldn't buy it, he was going to steal it. If he couldn't steal it, he was just going to shoot the sheriff.
Yep. And so he ends up trying to shoot the sheriff, but Rattlesnake Jake, the man that nobody trusted, the man that the deputies really didn't quite believe in, threw himself in front of the sheriff and took a bullet for the sheriff, laid down his life for a friend.
When all of us just stood there.
And of course, proved himself to be a true, deputy.
Yes, that was the first night. Second night.
Well, you forgot. The sheriff then.
Oh, the sheriff leaves.
Sees himself as a failure. He's messed up. His leadership skills are in doubt. He just doesn't know what he's going to do, but he needs time to leave and pray. So he leaves, goes out, and then just walks out, and all the deputies are left high and dry. And that was actually where we left the end of night one, talking about uncertainty
took over.
How life can sometimes throw you a curveball when the people that you rely on aren't there anymore.
Yeah. And then that was the end of night one. That was Friday night. And then Sunday morning, it started off with basically, what are we going to do? everyone.
So all this was set up in our main sanctuary. So on Friday night, it's really more aimed at just the kids.
Yeah.
But Sunday morning is for everybody, the whole church. And we go all out. Like we have a giant, I'm trying to describe how giant this backdrop is. It's 48 feet wide, 18 feet tall, which completely covers the platform from ceiling to floor. And it's incredible. So this time we printed out a giant western town with sunset. It was just the coolest background. And then set in front of that, we had this giant barn that was 16 feet high.
Trading post. On the floor, we had a little seed and feed.
So it looked really, really cool. And then, of course, everybody dressed in character. In the foyer, Sister Leah Thomas outdid herself with a team of people that set up 6 games, I think 5 or 6 games. Really cool, all Western themed. The kids got prizes when they came in if they're dressed in costume.
And a lot of kids dressed up. It was really cool.
Yeah. Kim Estrada I think she made the giant cowboy hat, right?
Yes, and giant bandana.
Huge. I mean, when I say huge, like this thing is
it took up our whole welcome center.
10 feet wide and 6 feet tall, probably. It's a huge cowboy hat.
So that morning it started off with what in the world are we all going to do? It was me, Clem, which was my dad, and then Red Rider, which is Brother Julian, and we're all basically, what are we going to do? And then I decided to go read my Bible, and the rest of them just go find the others.
Okay, well, we're gonna skip through this a little bit.
They all just start pandemonium. They all want to be sheriff. All are making new laws.
Well, the bad guys, that's their plan, is to sow dissension. So they all whisper in our ears that you're the best sheriff. You could be the one. So all of us believe it. We all start making our own laws. We all start proclaiming ourselves to be the sheriff. Yes. Chaos starts.
Oh, this was so funny. Okay, so there was a part where you're supposed to have a messenger come in. And the person we had for the messenger, we had Dawson. And we couldn't find him for like 5 minutes before. And we're like, what are we going to do? It's like, you guys are fighting for the first time. The outlaws are going to stop you, and then you guys are going to fight again. The outlaws start fighting. We still can't find him. Like, we checked the bathrooms. We checked everywhere. So I pull another kid up, and I'm like, will you just do this for us? Like 10 seconds, no, maybe like 30 seconds before they're supposed to go up, Dawson walks up. He's like, okay, I'm ready. We were like, what in the world? We ended up having them both do, but it was so funny. Bottom
line is they ended up bringing a letter from the sheriff. We read it, misunderstand it, goof it up even worse.
Yes.
We have a scuffle with the bad guys, scare them out of town. They say they're going to come back. It's going to be even worse than the first time.
Yes.
The sheriff makes his triumphant return. We welcome him back. He settles down the chaos a little bit. Then there's the final showdown. And Serpent Sam and the sheriff are about to have the big showdown. But Serpent Sam just decides that he's going to unload on me, poor Clem, the deputy, the clumsy deputy. And he just lets me have it with both barrels. Not literally, but verbally. Just what a loser. You can't be used by God. Nobody wants to use you. Why would they even include you in this deputy? Anyway, so while he's doing that, I'm just getting more and more down. And then he goes back to the sheriff. Well, I had snuck around, and so the kids could see me. I had snuck around and replaced Serpent Sam's gun with a water pistol.
The kids were so quiet.
They loved it.
I have never seen them not point something out like that or not laugh or anything.
Going, shh,
they did so good.
And so I snuck up there and I swapped out his gun. And then when they had the big gunfight, the sheriff didn't even bother to draw his gun because he believed in me.
He didn't even bring his gun. He didn't have it anywhere.
And then
it was a water
Serpent
gun.
Sam starts squirting with the water gun. He's so upset. And then he finds out that the guy he had been insulting the whole time was actually able to be used by God. Yes. And that's kind of how we ended it, talking about there's no excuse on why you can't be used.
We put them all in jail, but then Rattlesnake Jake was like, let me give them a Bible study so he can help all of them.
That's right.
So they all got a Bible study, and then you did the final lesson.
Then a really good altar call.
Yes.
Anyway, it was a great event. We do that once a year, bring our Sunday school in front of the whole church. So they get to see what happens behind closed doors every week. And just an exciting, fun time.
Yes, it was a lot of fun.
So let's go back to that 100th episode and 10 years of Apostolic Sunday School, Apostolic Children's Ministry. So we're going to do that probably in the next 2 weeks, I would assume.
Okay.
That's when that podcast is going to be released. But this is what we're thinking. If you have been in any way found Apostolic Sunday School to be beneficial, whether it's through object lessons or some of the videos, or maybe even during COVID, some of the crazy times that we had during COVID when we did the daily devotions and stuff, we thought it'd be cool if we just had various testimonies of different people. And obviously, you know that this is if you really feel this way, don't do us a favor. We want you just to, if you have something neat that you want to say, maybe Apostolic Sunday School helped your Sunday School program in whatever way.
Yeah.
Send us in a recording to info@apostolicsundaySchool.com, a video, and tag us in it, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube, however, or just send us an email or a text with that as an attachment, or worst case, just send us the text and we'll read it.
Yeah.
Okay. We do have a few that have already come in. So what we're thinking we're doing is just kind of like talk about the history, where that 10 years have taken us, how it got started, and kind of the evolution of things to get to where we're at. And periodically throughout that, we'll be playing some of those clips and reading some of the testimonies and stuff. So that's just what we're thinking. If you have a better idea, send it to us, info@apostolicsundaySchool.com, and we would love to hear your feedback because we want it to be fun, but we don't want it to come across as cringy or beating our chest. This is the great. We know what it is. We know it has many failings, but if there's something to celebrate, we want to do it. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. All right.
Because this honestly is just like become such a big, like, Apostolic Sunday School. I feel like it was not separated from Sunday School, but it wasn't like Sunday School. Like, it was more your thing. It wasn't like the Sunday School teams. But then when COVID happened, it like became such a big part of our Sunday School.
Well, and it was aimed at teachers.
Yeah.
All at teachers and instructional and recording our object lessons. And then it, like you said, in COVID, we'll talk about this in the 100 deal, but Brother Johnny King reached out and he said, hey, we're going to be having a lot of kids that are going stir crazy. You need to release something for the kids every single day. And if he hadn't said that, it never would have happened. Now, we would have done probably our Sundays, but we wouldn't have done anything in between. So he's a huge reason that ever happened. And so we will acknowledge that for sure.
But yeah, so it's become such a big thing. So it's like such a big milestone, even though the whole 10 years hasn't been like.
But it has.
Yeah,
even those object lessons back then were me and Bob Lee.
Yeah, I'm saying like it wasn't a part of our like Sunday school, like all the kids that weren't really involved in it and all that. But now it's become such a big part that like.
It's interesting. You look back 10 years ago, you were a little tiny girl. You were a little
I was
girl.
8 or 9.
Yeah. And
That's
so now
crazy.
here you are helping teach Sunday school.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So if you want to send those in, feel free, info@apostolicsundaySchool.com. All right. Curriculum, quick update. The holiday pack is done and published. We've already, it's on Amazon. It's on apostoliccurriculum.com. We just published on Instagram. So if you want to purchase that, you're more than welcome to. And just for those who are wondering, what is the holiday pack? What is this thing? These quarters are written so you can teach them at any time. It's not like you have to start quarter 1 on January 1st. We don't care. You can start it on April 22nd. It doesn't matter because they're not date specific. However, because you do have holidays popping up every now and then, and some people like to teach that holiday's lesson. If you're doing it on Easter, you probably want to talk about Easter that day, right? Or Pentecost Sunday, or Christmas or Thanksgiving. You want to teach something relevant to the kids because that's fresh on their mind, and they're going to find it odd if you don't at least acknowledge, hey, this is a really cool day.
Yeah, it's Easter, and you never even bring up the word Easter. Yeah,
and so what has happened in the past is, with many other curriculums, is they're very date specific. So it says on April 22nd, you must teach this lesson. Mm-hmm. And so what people do, like, oh man, okay, so to stay on track, I'll just eliminate the lesson I was going to teach and teach on Easter. And what that does is they end up, out of their 13 lessons for the quarter, they end up teaching 8 of them, because their church may not have Sunday school every single Sunday or whatever. Mm-hmm. But we just tell people, push it ahead. So if you have a day that you don't do Sunday school, that's fine. Instead of teaching lesson 7 on that day, teach lesson 7 the next Sunday you come back. Yeah. and just stretch it out. Your quarter may end up being half a year. Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Haven't we been on quarter
one since last September?
Yeah.
And that's just because we do a lot of special events.
Yeah, we had Thanksgiving.
Well, there's so much stuff. There's the holidays, but then we have our Holy Ghost rallies every other month.
The kids' revivals.
There's stuff all the time that we do, special stuff for our kids. And like that big Esther skit, that was not in the curriculum. So all of these things they just push it ahead. And that's really a cool thing, because now your 3-year curriculum could potentially be a 4-year curriculum or more or less, depending on how often you have those special Sundays. So the holiday pack is there for those special days. There's 9 holidays that we focus on, the major ones. 4th of July, Thanksgiving, the big ones. We're not going to do like
President's
Labor Day. That's not okay. That's not what we're doing. Okay, so if you want that, you can go get that at ActsCurriculum.com, Amazon, search for Acts in Action Curriculum. All right, third quarter is coming out. We're starting to panic a little bit. 5 weeks we have to release this one. It's all written. We're in editing. It's in layout. This one is called Faith Lab.
Ooh.
So everything's faith, in case you haven't noticed. We have Building Blocks of Faith, Superheroes of the Faith, and this time is Faith Lab, which is like a mad scientist laboratory.
Is all year one just like faith?
It's all faith, yeah.
And then that's going to be cool.
Yeah. And so we have, that should be coming out at the end of March, and we should be on track. We just had our group meet and make sure that we hit the milestones that we need to get that accomplished.
Nice.
And let me just tell you, it's a big job. If it wasn't for the incredible people that we have on this committee, it absolutely would not happen. People, man, I almost started saying names. If I should read all the names or none, but the ones I will say is like Gabe Baker with his planning and his project management and just keeping us on track. He's phenomenal. Daniel Parker with her graphics design and layout. And, oh my goodness, I really shouldn't have got into this. You have Eric Stender, Jason Ashley, the Pelletiers, Kim and James are phenomenal. Anyway, all the rest of them, Bree, goodness, is off the top of my head. No, Kim Ramos is not actually on the committee anymore.
No.
Her choice, not ours. Her life just got too busy for her, and we're really sad. Yeah, so she's not doing it. Jesse Willoughby. If I didn't say your name, it's not because I don't think you're super important. It's because I'm a dingbat, okay? Just know that. All right. But I'm telling you, this group is absolutely phenomenal. Unbelievable. And my phone is ringing, but this is raw and unedited, so we're just going to keep rolling. All right. Children's Ministry Workshop coming up on May 9th and 10th. If you want to come, it is one of the coolest events.
It's amazing.
Of the year for us.
Yes. Really
neat training. You get to meet a lot of the people that you hear on all the different podcasts, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Brother Gabe Baker will be there. Chris Bradshaw, I believe, is going to be there. I don't know who else, but man, the more the better. I think last year Eric Stender was there. Brother Pelletier was there.
There's a lot of people there.
Anyway, it's a really good time. There's like 23 different sessions on everything under the sun related to children's ministry. Costs you a whopping $20 to get there, to get
That's
in.
Really cool.
Now I know there's associated travel and all that. I get it. But yeah, put on your schedule May 9th and 10th. This year it's held at Inland Lighthouse Church, and we would love to have you. We're gonna have a good time. But for a while, I want to talk about all the incredible resources that are coming to light for the apostolic movement.
Yes.
Under children's ministry, it has been, in the past, relatively slim pickings. Typically, you've had to dive into other denominations' resources, which, while they're well written and they're the quality in many ways, they're not apostolic.
Yeah.
They're not doctrinally sound, and that's troubling. And so we have really been lacking some resources, and it's starting to happen. I really feel like the floodgate is opening, and a ton of stuff is being released. And so I've tried to collate all that on Apostolic Children's Ministry. Now, this is different from Apostolic Sunday School. I'm going to make this clear. Apostolic Sunday School are all the lessons, all of the videos, the action songs. Apostolic Children's Ministry has become more of a resource website for anybody that's putting out any sort of product for kids for apostolics. Okay.
The YouTube is still Apostolic Children's Ministry, though, right?
Yeah, and it always will be.
Okay.
Yeah. But the website specifically, Apostolic Children's Ministries.com is, Children's Ministry, Apostolic Children's Ministry.com has tons of resources. So we're going to go through those. First of all, the podcast. So there's a link at the top for podcasts. There used to be, I think, one. Mine?
Yeah.
Seriously, back in 2015, I think that was the only one that I knew of. I'm sure there was more. Listen, I'm not narcissistic enough to say that nobody else had this idea, okay? I know they were there. I just didn't know of them. There was a lot of children's ministry podcasts out there, but typically not the ones that I would gravitate to, okay? Since then, though, I'm going to read them all, but these are the new ones. Apostolic Children's Network by Brother Chris Bradshaw is a phenomenal podcast. It's so good. It's him and his wife. Him and his wife do such a good job talking about Sunday school in Union City, Tennessee, and covering more broad topics. And again, podcast link has all of these listed, so you don't have to really write them down. Go to apostolicchildrensministry.com podcast. Okay? Apostolic Children's Network, Chris Bradshaw. Growing with Papa by Jason Ashley.
Yes.
This one's been around for a while, but it's still a classic. And he took a break for a little bit, but he is back, and we are so glad because he is just a unique voice, and he's phenomenal.
Yes.
We have Kidmin Backstage by Brother Gabe Baker. And let me just say, if you don't know about this podcast, first of all, where have you been? And second of all, go listen to it. And it's the most consistent podcast that I know of. Every single week, it's always out. I don't think he's missed a week ever since he started.
Really? That's crazy.
But remember I told you he's like the most disciplined project management. When he sets his face to something, he's unbelievable. And that's why having him part of the curriculum committee is like such a relief, because this is his strong suit. He's so good at being consistent and hitting milestones. Then you have the Sunday School Minute. This is a relatively new podcast as well, within the last month or two, by Brother Eric Stender, who also is on the curriculum writing committee. And these are short, sweet, 10 minutes-ish. They're for leaders in children's ministry, and they're solid gold, like 10 minutes of just super, super good stuff. I cannot say enough about it. You gotta go listen to the Sunday School Minute. Then you have Truism by James Pelletier. Brother Pelletier is like one of my favorite people in the world. I told him this, but every time he writes something in one of our chats, I instantly have to go see what it is, because he's never boring.
Oh, that's
ever.
very true.
I don't think he's ever written something that I was just like yawned at, because everything has got a zinger behind it. Like he's one of the more funny people I know. He's awesome. So he has Truism, and then he has a new one, a second podcast by him called The Sunday School Junkie.
Okay.
By James Pelletier.
I didn't know about that one.
Epic.
Okay.
So those are all the ones that have just started. Then there, of course, there's kind of the old one that's been around. And if you're listening to this, which I know you're not, but if you're listening to this, Brother Tyler Hodge, your Kidsmen University is phenomenal, first class, and years out of date.
Yes.
So please release a new one, my friend. And this is coming from me. This is coming from a guy that can barely do one a month. Okay, so this is.
We just have spurts of consistency.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. What happens is you get in a routine, and when that routine gets broken, it's very hard to get back into it. And
it used to be Wednesday nights, and then it was Saturdays, and
well, the Saturday thing lasted one.
Yeah,
it's pretty pitiful because we're gone so much.
Yeah,
it's frustrating. Anyway, Kidsman University is a great one as well, and it's neat to see all of these that have popped up just in the last little bit, and they're all some of the more passionate people I know about Kidsman. All right, let's talk about some books that have just come out. So. Of course, the Acts in Action has been coming out. This is all on apostolicchildrensministry.com. I just put out a third object lesson book, so Volume 1 and 2 have been out. Volume 1 was out in 2018, I think.
A long time ago.
Maybe even earlier. 2019, Volume 2 came out, and then nothing until last month. And then Volume 3 really just came out. So this one doesn't have quite as many as the first. This has 26. Before I was trying to do 52, like a full year's worth if you use one a week. But I'm going to try to do like 2 a year.
Yeah.
And I priced them accordingly. So I didn't price them the same. I priced them a lot less because there's not as many lessons. So it's 26 lessons, 6 months worth.
Nice.
And then we have Brother Danny Torado has written 2 or 3 books. And again, these are all under Apostolic Resources. By the way, in case you're wondering, how am I selling all of these books? I'm not. I am providing a link to their site. Okay, so when you get there and you click on Danny Torado's book, I don't have any part in the purchasing. Okay, there's no commission. There's nothing. It just goes directly to, in this case for Danny, it's an Amazon link that you click and order.
Yes.
Okay, so Danny Torado has 3 books. One's a coloring book, and then two other books. I know he's writing more. Brother Eric Stender has 2 books that we have on there. There's a apostolic lady named Glenda Fields. We heard about this from the lads from Sacramento.
Nice.
They gave us this link, and so that's on there. Kim Estrada has done a Bible study. She has done, I forget what the spelling looks like. And Kim, what happened is I said Kim Estrada into a text-to-speech, and it spelled it Kimmy, like chemistry.
Yeah.
Kimmy Estrada. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the definition of that is, but
yes,
I don't know. It's not you.
I thought it was like some weird way of spelling her name. I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's real clever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's written a brand new book in her bus series. She's going to be writing stories about some of the kids that actually ride our buses, which is really cool.
That's
Names
cool.
are protected, of course, but they're on. That's on Amazon. She's written a Bible study that's on Amazon, a devotion book that's on Amazon, and super exciting. There is even. Has anyone heard of Pogs in the last 400 years?
What is
Not
that?
really, but when I was a kid, there was a craze called Pogs. It was these little tokens, and everybody was into it. It was a game. Well, Brother Seth Flint is calling these apostolic, get it? Apostolic.
I love it.
Pog collectibles, and those are on there too. Again, I don't know much about these. I haven't seen the final product or even what they cost or anything, but I heard about them and threw those up there. There's a lot of merch on this site, okay? Of course, Apostolic Children's Ministry has got hoodies and shirts. I just came out with a new shirt. Well, hold on. I say I came out with it. I did not publish it because I'm not happy with the design. I don't like what it looks like. But I like the message, and it says, "You see science," as in you look at science. I see object lesson. And then I have another one. You see magic. I see object lesson.
You should say, you see magic, I see Christian illusion.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I actually like that a lot better. That's good. And so once I get the design, that'll be released. But there's probably 10 different shirts up there now, 10 different designs.
I like the one I have. It's just the normal one.
Just the logo.
Yeah.
There's Children's Ministry Isn't Babysitting, It's Soul Winning. There's the Train Up a Child in the Way It Should Go. There's one. I don't know that the design is my favorite, but the message is probably my favorite. The one that says, "I would rather try too hard than have to be pushed." And it's a picture of a racing horse next to a donkey that's laying on the ground. And on the back is the message of, "I would rather have to rein in a noble steed than to prod a stubborn mule." But it has parts crossed out. So I would rather have to rein in
an overeager
Sunday school teacher than to have to prod a boring, uninspiring.
Yeah. I like that one. I didn't even know that one existed until I saw you wearing it.
Yeah. So that's on there. So there's hoodies versions of most of these as well. Brother Pelletier came out with his Sunday School Junkies shirts. Ooh. Those are on there. And a hat that he came out with today. That's going to be on there soon. It's not there quite yet.
Nice.
So a lot of cool stuff on Apostolic Resources. Yes. And the reason I'm so excited is it feels like for many, many years, there was never anything that was truly apostolic specific for children's ministry. It always had to be adapted. So we'd reach out and find whatever was out there, and we'd always have to tweak it and tailor it to us and search and replace and all this stuff just to make it fit who we are. But now there are truly apostolic resources available to us, and that makes me really, really happy.
The next thing, Sunday school songs.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yes.
So, Sunday school songs. The only one that I know of. Well, there's two.
Brother Hodge.
Brother Hodge, Kids of the Kingdom, and there's one from Sacramento as well. The lad's connected to that Sunday School Rocket or Rapture Rocket or something. I think it's Rapture Rocket.
The Rapture Rocket Ship.
Yeah. So those are the only two Apostolic Kids Ministry songs that I know of.
Yeah, I don't know any other ones.
If there's more, connect us. I don't know. I just don't know. And some of the ones that I've heard are a little too rocky for my taste. I don't like the feel. Now, I'm not talking apostolic. I'm talking some of the ones that are
more current Sunday school
They feel
songs.
almost like hip hop with church words, and it just it's a little cringy, more than a little cringy to me. I want someone with an apostolic feel to them.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't have to be like a choir praise break children's song, but just an apostolic flavor to it.
Yes.
And it's cool that they're starting to happen. Tyler's is phenomenal.
I
Kids
love
of the
that
Kingdom
song.
is a
The kids on my bus love that song.
And it's not just good for one that someone I knew wrote. Like it's as good as any out there. It's really, really good. And so
it's so unique. It doesn't sound like anything that's already out there.
And we're trying to write some. And it's more like when something pops up. It's not like we're sitting there trying to grind out songs. It's like, hey, if we're inspired by something, we're going to try to put one out. So right now we have one that Trystan and I kind of went back and forth on called If You Love the Lord.
It was inspired by Brother Phillips.
I was actually at No Limits a few years ago, and he said the phrase, clap your hands like the devil's in between them.
Yeah, he said at our church when we were in revival with him.
Yeah. Well, I wrote that down. I was like, dude, there's got to be something like a song that we can do with that. Yeah. And so Trystan and I, over a little bit, we finally came up with a song. If you love the Lord, with all the words. Raise your hands if you love the Lord. Clap your hands if you love the Lord.
Turn around.
If you love the Lord, touch the ground. Then clap your hands like the devil's in between them. Stomp your feet like he is beneath them.
Everybody praise the Lord.
And then it has the bridge. He's the Holy Ghost, Father, Son. Hear, O Israel, God is one. He's the Holy Ghost, Father, Son. Hear, O Israel, God is one. Clap your hands like the devil's in between them. Yeah. I think it's a cool song. Now we're working on getting some music behind it.
Yes.
There's a guy in our church that's working on that right now.
Oh, really?
And
I didn't know that.
I actually have a couple looks at it.
I didn't know
but it's not there yet. But it's close.
I didn't know that though. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. Then we have some memory verses that we've done that we turn into songs.
I love some of them.
Well, in fact, Brother Pelletier just sent us a video for our Sunday school teacher class. Yeah. And he's playing the Deuteronomy 6:4 song, and it's jamming. So, again, Frank from our church did that one as well. And when I say it's jamming, I mean insert a clip of it right here. Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. The Lord our God is one Lord. Deuteronomy 6:4. There it is. One.
What's the one?
The Lord is one. He is one. The Lord is one.
The one we did for the cool. It is well.
Follow peace with all men.
Yes. Oh, I
Hebrews
love that
12:14.
one.
Follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall.
Yeah, or
see the Lord. Anyway, it's really so. Those we're trying to turn into like actually get good music behind them. There's another really slow one because there was a message. I can't remember which teacher. They were telling this lesson, and the kids were locked in, basically about how God knows you. You feel like you're forgotten, but God knows who you are. And so there's a song that came out of that. Somebody knows my name. Somebody knows my name. Somebody cares for me. Somebody feels my pain. He has big plans for me. If I just live for Him each day, if I take the time to pray, He's going to lead me, the one who knows He knows my pain. He knows my fears. He feels my hurts, wipes away all my tears. No matter where I go, he's never far away. 'Cause he's always with me, the one who knows my name. Somebody knows my name. Somebody cares. So it's cool to see stuff like this coming out. And so
together.
If you're out there and you're inspired and you have songs that you've been wanting to get out, I don't know the whole process, but I do know how to get them on Apple Music and Spotify now.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
so there's these. It used to be the process like you go to a big music company and they make an album and they submit it. Well, now there's like companies that they're the in between, because you can't just submit direct to iTunes or Apple Music or Spotify. You have to make a track that's accepted and meets all the standards, and you send it to these companies, these intermediate companies, and then they submit it.
Okay.
So pretty cool. It's kind of like, oh, by the way, the Genesis audiobook,
yes,
that's actually on Audible now.
Officially.
It's officially on Audible.
Cool.
And so that process was interesting. So there's all these
Yeah, I knew.
silly
so
things
you did
you gotta
end up
work
making it into like an ebook.
I had to. Yeah, it's part of the process.
That's cool though.
Yeah, but I don't even care if anyone ever gets it. I don't care.
Yeah.
It was meant as an audio book, and so like if I did it right for an ebook, I'd want pictures with it and all that, and I just don't have time for that. So we're on Acts. We're recording Acts now.
Ooh,
we were on
nice.
9 chapters in.
Really?
Yes, and it's only
cool.
it's only 28 chapters long. So hey, we're 3/4 of the way there, or not 3/4. We're
1/4, 1/3, 1/3.
Do some maths.
1/3. A little under 1/3, around 1/3.
Yeah. So we're getting close. So it's exciting to see all the different things that are out there. And is there anything that we want to touch on? I know you got to go to work pretty quick. What about recent Sundays? Is there anything super exciting out of the box that you want to share? Hey, we're doing all of our classes are going to quarter 2 of the curriculum starting next Sunday.
All doing superheroes.
Superheroes of the faith. We got our capes ordered. We got our decorations all ordered, and masks, and man, we're gonna be.
The only really different thing was, so, the how I asked you for the friction pens and things.
Yeah.
So, did that, but I did it kind of.
The lesson is called Appearing Promises, I think, on Apostolic.
So how do you
Sunday
normally
School.
do it? Because I couldn't remember how you normally do it.
It can go a bunch of ways. So I've done it where you can like write somebody's name on a piece of paper. And this lesson, to give you a little bit of background, you use a regular pen, like an ink pen, and a Friction, Frixion, that's a brand name, and it disappears with heat.
Like an erasable pen.
So I write their name with the original pen, and obviously when you change pens, they don't know it. They don't realize it's even happening.
Yeah.
So their name's on there, and in the same color pen, I'll start writing all the things that people say about them. What are some terrible things that people say? Like, you're not good enough, you're too young, nobody likes you, you're ugly. And so we just cover their name with all of these insults. Sometimes I'll put my name on there because I don't want a kid to feel that. And at the end, you can't even see it. You can't even. All you can see is all the things that people have said about him.
Yeah.
And then when the power of God moves in, and when God starts to move, you pull out the heat gun, and you can use a hairdryer, but hairdryers usually aren't quite hot enough. So you get an actual heat gun, and you do it over that page, and everything you wrote with the friction pen disappears almost immediately, and you're left with whatever was written originally, which in this case, in that scenario, was a name. But we've used it for different things.
Yeah. So I couldn't remember exactly how you used it, but what I did is, so we were talking about God can change anyone from Saul to Paul. So I wrote chosen on the paper, and I basically was just saying, like, God, you don't have to do anything special for God to choose you. You just have to be who you are, and God will choose you. And as all you have to do is just live for him. So I said, Saul, before he was ever born, was chosen by God. He may not have been living up to what he needed to be, but he was chosen. And then I asked for one thing to cover each letter of chosen, like to write long ways. And I told the girls, I flipped it and I said, now when you look at this, you don't see the chosen anymore, right? You see a liar, you see a thief, you see a murderer, you see all these things that Paul was. And so then I told the girls that I said I was like the heat gun was representing God, and I was going to say, but when God starts moving on you and you decide to start responding, as I was telling the whole story of Saul to Paul, I said, he gets rid of that. And because he's not looking at what you've done, he's looking at your potential. And as long as you like live to it. And so our girls, it's very iffy if they're going to pray or not. Like some days we have a really good altar call where we have 3-4 girls in there for a while. Other times they're all gone immediately. But no, we all have this one girl, she's always praying, always praying. And so she was in there, and she was just praying really hard. And then most of the girls walked out. And I had one other girl, she walked up to me and she's like, I know it doesn't seem like it, but I promise I liked your lesson. And I was like, oh, thank you. And then she goes, I want to pray, but my friends are outside. I gotta go. And so she walked out. But then the girl that was staying there for a while was praying, and she was talking to one of her friends. I don't remember. It was one of the other girls in our class, and she was basically like leaned over, and she's like, I've never heard somebody say it like how they said it, because like Sarah would say it and Erica would say it, where they all say like, God can change anyone. It doesn't matter who you are or what you've done. She's like, I've heard it. She's like, but it's never clicked until now that like it really doesn't matter. And I was just like, it was just so good to hear that like they're like really getting it.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, sometimes just seeing the light bulb go off in those moments is just it's worth it all. It makes it all that time worth it. That's a great way to use it, by the way.
No,
it's really good.
I couldn't remember how you did it, and I was like, I don't know what else to do.
That's the neat thing about all of these visuals is they can be used in so many different ways, and that's a fabulous way to do it. We've done it with being thankful. We've done it with a bunch of different things. And this is we'll probably end with this, but in our class we did lesson 13 of quarter 1 of Building Blocks of Faith, and it was about basically working out your own salvation. Okay. You can't ride to heaven on your parents' coattails. That was the overlying message of the whole day. And I honestly don't know who wrote this lesson. I don't remember which of our group wrote it. I know I did not. But it was so well done. There was in every lesson there's a Bible story, but in this one there was actually a Bible story split. So it was a Bible story, then something else, and then a second Bible story. And the first Bible story was about Aaron and his sons. Yeah. Aaron was the high priest. Aaron was chosen by God. Aaron was the one that everybody looked up to in the Israelite camp, and his 2 boys took that all for granted. Dad was basically the pastor, like maybe I guess the assistant pastor, if Moses was the pastor. Yeah. And so they took that they were given, and instead of cherishing it, they flushed it down the toilet. And those 2 boys offered up strange fire, and God ended up killing them and burning them because those 2 boys couldn't follow the example of their dads, proving that you can't go to heaven on your parents' coattails. Yeah. You still have to have your own salvation. That was part 1. Second one was the sons of Korah. Oh. So you have Korah that was a rebel in Moses' camp, the same camp. Yeah. And he also was a big dog in the Israelites. He was a leader, and people listened to him. And his kids had to make a decision when Moses called out Korah and said, "You're a rebel. God's going to judge you." His kids had to decide, am I going to listen to Dad or Moses? Oh, think about that. Yeah. They had to decide, because Moses said, choose you this day. Who are you going to choose? Is it him or are you going to get away from him? Because he said, step away. And those kids had to make a decision, because the earth swallowed them. The earth opened up. Korah and all of his followers were sucked down into the earth, and the mouth of the earth closed on them. Yeah. And then the sons of Korah started writing songs. And you read the book of Psalms, and all of these beautiful Psalms were written by those same sons that had to decide that I'm living for God no matter what my dad did.
That's so good.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Think about that. The first group, the first sons of Aaron, didn't care about the things of God, even though Dad was all in. Yeah. The second group had to decide, my dad has made some big mistakes, but I'm still going to live for God. Wow. It is I'm stealing
That's
that.
good.
When we go out and talk to different churches, I'm telling you, I'm going to take that and give the two scenarios. So you don't have to follow your parents in either one. You know, the sons of Korah, and in the script, in our skit, we do always have some liberties with the skit, but in this, we said, hey, aren't you working on one now? Because we were actually the sons of Korah. We were telling the story of Dad.
Yeah.
And so I turned to my sibling. I said, hey, aren't you in the middle of writing something right now? She goes, yeah, right. The sons of Korah. She was actually a daughter of Korah.
Yeah.
I told you we take liberties. So she started reading a song that she's in the process of writing after Dad got swallowed by the earth. As the heart panteth after the water brook, so panteth my soul after thee, O God. And so we said, man, that's beautiful. I think you should call that one Psalm 42.
Oh.
And we're like, yeah, that's good. And it's written, look it up. Psalm 42 is written by the sons of Korah.
Oh, that's cool.
After Dad was swallowed up.
Oh, wow.
That's a trip.
That is.
That's powerful.
Wow.
So, it was really, really good. You got to work out your own salvation.
Yeah, that's
my dad's one of the greatest apostolic preachers I know. My brother's a pastor of the church. That doesn't mean diddly squat getting me to heaven.
Yeah.
I still have to make my own decision. And you, girl, have to make your own decision.
That's really good.
It was really, really powerful. So, anyway, that was a good Sunday. Whoever wrote that, major kudos.
Good job.
That was awesome.
Just amazing.
All right. Anything else?
No, but
okay. Well, send us all of your 100th episode, the audio, video, text, whatever, to info@apostolicsundaySchool.com for our 100th episode. We want to get those in here. And we love you all. We'll catch you next time. Thank you for joining us, Trystan.
Bye.
We'll see y'all. Bye.